Hello, teachers. This is our second video for June and the second video on RC skills, right? Are you ready? Okay, let's go. Our agenda is teaching examples. We're going to be sharing two different teaching examples, fostering learners' participation, the do's and the don'ts, more tips for you to keep on working with your learners in developing their RC skills, the teacher's skills development, and further reading suggestions. All right, let's go. This table, we have shared it before in the first video, and I asked you to take a picture of it. I'm going to ask it again. Are you ready to take a picture of it? You're going to be using it, right? So here it is, a couple of minutes. Not those, okay? Ready? Now, in the first teaching example, right, I'm going to be sharing has to do with seasons, right? But don't think it's going to be for the little ones. It's going to be for secondary school. And in this case, seasons has to do with inviting the learners to share any personal idea, thought, or experience they want to communicate to the group first things first when they have the circle time. In the same circle time, you're going to make a comment to the learners to a new topic and make a question that would trigger a discussion and generate the interest in doing some research on. For example, as in this case, which are the pros and cons of autumn, right? And let the children, right, your learners discuss this for a while. You might have some learners who are really fond of autumn, others that don't like it very much. And then in the next period of 15 minutes, right, which is your favorite season, right? And from this discussion, we might invite learners to think of, in a story or film, how do you know which seasons the characters are in? How can you figure out the seasons the characters are in? And maybe they want to make some recollection of some film they just watched or series and describe a certain scene where they figured out the season the characters were in. And you can ask the learners, can you recall any story or film where your favorite season comes relevant in the story? Maybe is where the season actually takes place as a maybe an extra character in the story. The learners explain and describe these to their peers, right, to you, and you have this exchange. You can organize them in pairs or teams. I suggest here the think, pair, share. We have already discussed it in previous videos, but it's up to you, the dynamic you want to use. And then allow the once they have discussed this in pairs or in a small group, allow them to share with the whole group in this paraphrasing exercise where the learners paraphrase their peers' comments. They're not going to say what they have shared, but they're going to explain to the whole audience what their peer, right, their classmate has shared. So they're going to be paraphrasing. And so they are going to be using other features of language here. Then through the 3-2-1 activity technique, you're going to help the group find out more about their peers' story or film. So you have 10 more minutes of discussion here in teams of 4. And then we're going to be working this graffiti write with a twist here, right? The learners will create a virtual graffiti wall through Padlet, maybe, or many other app you might know. In-person learners will dictate to the online learners the names of the films, the season that appears if possible, and why the learner likes or doesn't like the film, right? So in this case, the ones who are online are going to be writing on the graffiti wall, the virtual graffiti wall, and the ones who are in person are going to be dictating. So you're integrating those two worlds together. So this is a nice activity. And if you have a look at the time here, we have, lots of discussion, and we have about 40 minutes of discussion here and sharing, right, and developing RC skills. This is for secondary school. What about early years and primary? In the case of learners in lower grades, you may have problems identifying the seasons. Many times when they're too young, let's say early years, they actually don't know, right, the names of the seasons, and you're going to be working on that. So it can be changed to identify weather conditions. So they don't have to name a season, they just name weather conditions they really like. For example, I love rainy days or windy days, right? You have here a chart for you to help them improve their oracy skills. Or you may have a bulletin board or flashcards of keywords plus drawings, right? That may be important for them to have as a support for their oral production. So they might have this information on a bulletin board, and they might refer to that when describing all the main features of the favorite season or the favorite weather condition, right? In primary school, you can go from the very elementary ideas to the very complex ideas of the secondary school learners. You decide, okay, where you choose where your learners are and which are the oracy skills and the vocabulary you're going to be asking them to produce. In the teaching example too, right, we're going to be talking about food. And this is the shepherd's pie, right? And in this case, we have timing, aim, procedure, and classroom dynamic. And we're going to be working on, again, a 5-minute circle time. You're going to invite learners to share a personal idea, thought, or experience they want to communicate with the group. This is the very first minutes of the class. After that, they're going to make a comment to lead the learners to a new topic and make a question that would trigger a discussion and generate interest in doing some research on what did you have for dinner yesterday. And from there, going to start pulling the thread in order to generate, right, some discussion and oral production through different dynamics, as in this case, the think, pair, share. After that, for 15 minutes, we're going to have our learners developing oracy skills through the activities I have mentioned here. The teacher elicits different meals and foods the learners generally have at home, and elicits as well how those foods are prepared, who prepares them, how they are combined, right? The different elements that go into that preparation. But if from here as well, you might be pulling the thread again in order to talk about, for example, food, but also might be discussing genre issues, as for example, who prepares the food, who is the one who generally does the cooking at home, maybe the father, the mother, maybe both, maybe the children. So social aspects that you might be interested in. And then you might tell a story that involves meals and food. And if we talk about, for example, upper primary or secondary school learners, we might be reading a chapter of Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens, where he talks about food. If we have second or third year primary, you might be talking about the wolf pancakes, and you can Google these authors, right? Or maybe if you have 4-year primary, you might have this Give Peas a Chance by Maurice Wilsman. Or first year primary and early years, The Very Hungry Caterpillar is a good example of somebody who brings in lots of food for the children to discuss and talk about. And then we have a pair work that discusses the decisions the main character makes in the story regarding food, right? And through the chapter or the story you have shared. Because in the upper grades, we can read chapter books together with them in the classroom, every day a different chapter, every week, as you wish. And then we have a 10-minute activity that has to do with an alternative. I suggest here a song or a scene from a film where food or cooking is involved, and they sing it together. They make a role play here. The learners might be making the voices of the characters. When you put mute the characters on the video and allow the learners to make the talking. Many varieties here. And then again, this graffiti riot with a twist, where the learners create a virtual graffiti wall through Padlet or any app, as in the previous example. But in this case, the learners are going to be dictating their favorite food. They're going to be mentioning scenes from films and whatever you want them to write there. Again, the ones who are in person are going to be dictating to the ones who are online. So in these two examples, we have the learners talking for 40 minutes. So what are the do's to foster learners' participation? Have your learner feel safe enough to accept the risk of participating. It's challenging. Create a list of rules for oral work. For example, you are making with the learners, and for example, you put what rules you need to follow when we work orally in class, participate in a pair or team, share our work in the class, listen to our peers and share their work. So in this case, how should I behave? What it is socially accepted for me to do in the different situations? So you prepare those rules and you have them posted in the classroom. Offer a group example of the task at hand. So you explain the task you want the learners to accomplish, and then you make an example. So you create an example so they can look at what you're doing, listen to you, and understand very, very, very deeply what you're doing. Provide learners with a well-organized list of prompts, sentence stems, and lexes to use. Give them time to elaborate an answer, a comment, whatever you want them to produce. We teachers, we are quite anxious. And many times we make the question and we ask them to answer back very quickly. And if not, we provide the answer. Just breathe and count to 5. You make the question and deep inside you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then invite the others to answer, because if not, only the very fast ones are going to answer and the others are going to be still thinking or putting their words in order, right? So give them time. The fast finishers are going to have their hands up. Okay, lovely, but I want the others to participate as well. So make the question, count, and then wait for the answers. Make it evident that all comments are valuable. All comments are valuable. You have problems with the words, with English. Okay, I can help you with that. Correct the learners only when understanding is compromised. So don't start correcting them every time they make a mistake. Just do it only when understanding is compromised. What is it that you should not do? Don't echo the learners, please. We tend to echo the learners. So when they give us an answer, we repeat the answer. I don't know why, but it happens. So try not to do that for the learners. When they give you an answer, you just make another question. In this way, the other children will be, in a way, pushed to listen attentively to the peers' answers. You're not going to repeat that afterwards. So don't wait for my repetition, because I'm not going to repeat the answer. You listen to your colleague, you listen to your classmate, and then I move on to another question. Okay? Don't anticipate the learner's answers. Remember, count and wait. Let them produce the answer. Don't interrupt learners every time they make a mistake. Don't punish learners for making mistakes. Don't even the traffic light thing that you put, okay, you make mistake, you have a red thing, you have a yellow thing, you have a green thing. No, we are all learning here. We make mistakes. We teachers make mistakes. They make mistakes. It's okay. Move on. We make mistakes because we try. We try to do things, and it happens that we make mistakes. Okay? And don't value grades over descriptive feedback. It's much better to have a conversation with the learner than to give them a grade. Okay? More tips here. Plan a larger period of oral work each day in your in-person or live sessions. Start with adding 5 more minutes each week or each day, and you will see how far you can get. Try to use English as much as possible. Anytime you talk to your learners, use authentic resources. You have this streetwise language coming to the classroom, right? And use the coursework to walk through a challenging but safe path. So the coursework is challenging, but it's safe, is well planned, is sequenced, is scaffolded for you. The teacher skills development. It's very important that you develop your own skills. So you are the closest model for the child. And so, right, you need to be a good model, right? Invite your tutors to observe your lessons and give you a descriptive feedback. Attend webinars provided by the evolution team. Watch the videos we are sharing, right? So try to improve and get better every day. Attend all evolution training courses. It's very important. Participate on the evolution forums to exchange ideas with colleagues and, ideas and problems and issues, right? Try to use English as much as possible in your own communication with your colleagues and your learners. But it's very important you use English to talk to other teachers, right? And please go through these suggestions and move on, keep on developing. Thank you.